Hi, everyone. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite from April 8th, 2026, guys. Let's talk about this episode. Let's talk about it. The Death Riders brawled with United Empire, and we are live. Excalibur and Tony Giovanni and Nigel McGuinness. Great audience at home before we see John Moxley and Will Ospreay brawling in the parking lot, and the Death Riders found the part and beat down Ospreay, but Alex Winters and United Empire members for Cyril Adora and Hin and Colum Newman pull up in a car to provide Will Ospreay with backup, and the two groups begin brawling with one another, with Maria Shafir and Alex Winters brawling into the ringside area, and Will Ospreay and John Moxley followed with John Moxley and Daniel Garcia firing off stomps on Will Ospreay in the ring, and in our clotheslines, Daniel Garcia over the top rope as John Moxley slints in a sleeper on Will Ospreay, but Will Ospreay fights his way out of things, and Will Ospreay then challenges the Death Riders to an 8-man Chaos in Canada match on behalf of United Empire. Then we head over to a video from Don Callis where he confirms Conflictor is injured and says a new TNT champion will be crowned in a Casino Gauntlet match at Dynasty, which we all know who's the TNT champion right now is Kevin Knight. So yes, Kevin Knight is the TNT champion now, guys, in AEW. So yes, guys, and he also reveals Kyle Fletcher and Okada were supposed to face the Young Bucks at Dynasty, but he pursues and Okada will team up with Tutesta now, and Darby Allin and Jack Perry and Bandito, who is replacing Brody King, as attended to a personal matter, then makes his way to the ring, and the Don Callis family follows, and Jack Perry and Brody King and Darby Allin face the Don Callis family, which this was a fun match, guys. Let's talk about it. So Andrade Elo and Darby Allin begin the action, and the bell rings, and Andrade tags out to Tutesta, and Darby Allin grabs a microphone and calls MJF to the ring and asking why he's Don Callis' bitch, and Andrade dares Darby Allin to come at him, but Tutesta catches Darby Allin with two rolling German duplexes, and Mark Davis steps over Darby Allin at the bottom of the entrance ramp, but Jack Perry delivers a moonsault off the ropes to level Tutesta and Mark Davis as Don Callis joins the commentary desk, and Jack Perry then looks to fly off the ropes, but Tutesta levels him with a strike midair and dumps Jack Perry out of the ring as Andrade takes a selfie with a female fan. And back from the break, Bandito tags it and takes Tutesta with a pump kick, and he fires off strikes on Mark Davis, then body slams Mark Davis on top of Tutesta and rocks Tutesta with a boot to the side of his face. Then Tutesta then catches Bandito with a blue thunderbomb and pins him, but Bandito kicks out and Mark Davis tags in and spits in Darby Allin's face, but Bandito delivers a Hurricanrana to Mark Davis and pins him, and Mark Davis kicks out, and Jack Perry catches interfering Tutesta with a poison Karana, and Andrade trips Jack Perry as he runs to the ropes, but Darby Allin flies out of the ring and takes down Andrade, and Tutesta and Mark Davis swing Darby Allin into a pair of chairs in the timekeeper's area, but Andrade tags in and delivers the message to Jack Perry before pinning him for the win, and that's how the Don Callis family defeated Darby Allin and Brody King and Jack Perry, guys. Then after the match, Andrade stares down Darby Allin in the ring, and Darby Allin shoves Andrade, but Andrade low blows Darby as Tutesta and Mark Davis take a few shots at Bandito, and Jack Perry and Don Callis rakes Jack Perry's eye, but the Young Bucks music hits and they run down to the ring, and Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson fire off right hands on Tutesta and Mark Davis, but Okada and Inchicero and Lance Archer join their followed Don Callis family member, and the Rascals make their way to the ring and take out the Don Callis family, but Ryan Reed flies off the top rope to take out Okada onto the outside. Then we had Willow Nightingale fences Cream Amanada for the TBS Championship, which this was a fun match with these two women. I'm telling you guys, this was a good match. I'm telling you, let's talk about it. The bell rings and the action spills out of the ring, and Cream Amanada rocks Willow Nightingale with a strike, but Willow Nightingale responds with a chomp to Queen Amanada. Then we see Shida, I'll say it again, we see Shida with a candlestick in hand, watching the action from the crowd as Queen Amanada whips Willow Nightingale into the barricade, and Willow Nightingale dumps Cream Amanada in the ring, then levels Cream Amanada with a clothesline, and Cream Amanada responds with her sinister, modified version of a devil kiss to Willow Nightingale. Back from the break, Willow Nightingale levels Cream Amanada with a drop kick off the middle rope and follows it up with the Death Valley driver to her, and then she goes for a pin, but Queen Amanada kicks out, and Willow Nightingale then ascends to the top rope and looks to land a moonsault on Queen Amanada, but Queen Amanada moves out of the way and connects a forearm. I'll say it again, guys. A forearm on Willow Nightingale. Repeat it again, guys. But Queen Amanada moves out of the way and connects with a forearm on Willow Nightingale, and Queen Amanada lands a double chop on Willow Nightingale, but Willow Nightingale delivers a backslide to her, and Queen Amanada kicks out and connects with a air rush crush on Willow Nightingale, then goes for a pin, but Willow Nightingale kicks out, and Willow Nightingale interrupts Queen Amanada with a big boot, then sends her crashing out of the ring under the bottom rope and connects with the Dr. Bomb for the win and defeats Queen Amanada with the Dr. Bomb and retains the TBS title, Willow Nightingale. Then after the match, Willow Nightingale shakes Queen Amanada's hand. Then we hear from Chris Jericho. This part I love. Let's talk about it, guys. I'm telling you, I'm happy that Jericho is back, but I hope he doesn't go back to that learning tree thing. That learning tree gimmick, oh my goodness, that gimmick sucked. I'm telling you, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. That was not my cup of tea, I'm telling you. And Chris Jericho says it's good to be back on Dynamite, then says he wouldn't it when he says he was home last week and he was planning on making things official by singing his brand new AEW contract close to where he has his first ever professional wrestling match, and he says he took a lot of risks to start his professional wrestling career, and his takes a lot of risk sense, and including signing with AEW. He says he's proud of how big AEW has grown to be as a company that he helps to start, then says even though some of his risks haven't paid off, he loves professional wrestling and deserves the best Chris Jericho he can possibly be. And Chris Jericho opens the lid of his pin and looks to sign the contract, but before he can, the demand, I'll say it again, the demand, music hit, and Ricochet and Bishop Khan and Talia make their way to the ring, and Ricochet says Canada sucks and says he wants to talk to Jericho. Then then says Jericho has been touring with his band Fozzy and says there's a difference between song shape and ring shape. And he says it's the raise of Ricochet and says he's telling Jericho all of this is because of how much he respects him. And he speaks on behalf of the fans to say no one wants Jericho at AEW, then tells Jericho to get on his cruise ship and never come back to AEW. And Jericho reveals he has a clause in his new contract that he can choose anyone to face at Dynasty, but says because he signed his contract, he chooses to face Ricochet at Dynasty, and he rips off the back of his clipboard to reveal his name and tells Ricochet that he just made the list, which, he said, all that he said, it's been about 10 years since I've done this, and I'm going to say, you just made the list and all that stuff, back in WWE when he was with Kevin Owens and stuff back in 2016. But anyways, guys, let's carry on. Then we had Tommaso Ciampa versus Mascara Dorora. Winner receives the number one spot in the Dynasty TNT Championship Casino Gauntlet match. Let's talk about it, guys. Tommaso Ciampa, this match with Tommaso Ciampa and Mascara Dorora This was a good match, I'm telling you guys. Let's talk about it. The bell rings and the two lock up, and Tommaso Ciampa delivers a boot to Mascara Dorora midsection, then sends him crashing off the apron with a running knee, and Mascara Dorora then delivers a Hurricanrana to Tommaso Ciampa and connects with a Torero on him over the top rope. Then back from the break, Mascara delivers a moonsault to Tommaso Ciampa onto the outside of the middle rope, then ascends to the top and delivers a 450 splash to Tommaso Ciampa, then goes for a pin, but Ciampa kicks out and Mascara then looks to fly off the rope, but Ciampa catches him with a drop kick to him and then sets up for an air rush crush on Mascara, as then both teeter on the rope, and Mascara escapes and sends Ciampa crashing into the mat with a net breaker, then goes for a pin, but Ciampa kicks out. Then Mascara then looks to land a moonsault on Tommaso Ciampa off the middle rope, but Tommaso Ciampa moves out of the way. Mascara catches Tommaso Ciampa with a super kick, but Tommaso Ciampa spikes Mascara with a hanging DDT and follows it up with a running knee strike for the win, and that's how Tommaso Ciampa defeated Mascara Dorora. Then we head backstage where we see David Finlay and Con Connor attacking Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong, and Gabe Kidd says the congregation has no one left, and the dogs put Misto and Jet Speed on notice as they warn them that they're coming for the AEW World Trios Championship. I'll say again, they warned they're coming for their AEW World Trios Championship on Collision, which they won them. The dogs did win the AEW Trios Championships. Then they lost them at Dynasty to the Conjuration, and the Conjuration is the AEW World Trios Champions right now, guys. The Conjuration is the AEW World Trios Champions. Then we hear from Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. This was really good with the FTR stuff. And yes, tonight I watched some Collision. I'm watching it right now, guys, as we speak. And the thing is, FTR challenged Adam Copeland and Christian Cage to a New York I Quit match at Double or Nothing. So yes, guys, can't wait for that, guys. Let's see if Adam Copeland and Christian Cage accept the challenge, which I know they're going to. So yes, guys, we're going to probably see an I Quit match at Double or Nothing between FTR versus Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. But anyways, guys, let's carry on. Adam Copeland says jealousy and pettiness is what blowed up his relationship with FTR, and says that Dex Harwood and Cash Wheeler, feeling that they were his hitchmen and reality hitting them, and he says himself and Christian Cage will take their place on the top of the mountain as the new AEW World Tag Team Champions, and Christian Cage tells FTR to sit down and shut their mouths as it ascends his business, then says Dex Harwood and Cash Wheeler have been busy upsetting him and Adam Copeland the entire country of Canada, and he says he visit both Dex Harwood and Cash Wheeler's mother in a sense fashion, and says he'll do the same with Stokely's mother, but after he becomes one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions. And then Dex Harwood and Cash Wheeler and Stokely Halfway make their way to the ring, and Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero attack Adam Copeland and Christian Cage from behind in the ring, but Christian Cage sets up for a kill switch on Cash Wheeler, and Cash Wheeler sends Christian Cage crashing into Stokely Halfway, who hits Christian Cage with the AEW World Tag Team Championships, and Rocky Romero holds a chair in place for Trent Beretta to land a running knee on Adam Copeland, but Dex Harwood slides Christian Cage's arm into a chair, and Stokely decides to steal Christian Cage's watch, and Cash Wheeler flies off the middle apron to stomp on Christian Cage's arm. Then we had the Death Riders versus the United Empire in a Chaos in Canada match. This match was, I'm telling you, there was a lot of chaos, and it was a Chaos in Canada match. I'm telling you, this match, I'm telling you, great stuff, man. Great stuff with the Death Riders and the United Empire. I'm telling you guys, really good stuff. I'm telling you guys. Let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about this match right here. The bell rings, and Jon Moxley brawls with NR through the crowd, and Will Ospreay dumps Jon Moxley into the ring. side area as Francisco Sir Francis, Francisco Adora and Colum Newman and R brawled with Claudio Castagnoli and Diego Garcia and Pac, and Claudio brawls up the entrance ramp with Newman and sends him crashing into his knees with a gorilla press, and Alex Winters takes out Maria Shafir, who has since her Death Riders stole mate into the ring, and a ladder is set up in the ring, and Adora lands a crossbody off the ladder and over the top rope to take out Claudio, and Pac and Diego Garcia onto the outside, and back from the break, Will Ospreay sets up a table as Newman taps on the ring and steps next to them, and Ospreay and Newman drag Moxley up to the rag steps, but Claudio comes to Jon Moxley's aid and sends Newman crashing into the barricade with a gorilla press, and he lands a Shroom's backbreaker on Ospreay as Ospreay looks to fly off the ring steps, and Moxley chokes in onto the outside as Claudio whips Newman into the corner, and Diego Garcia delivers a clothesline to him, and Claudio and Diego Garcia and Pac then take turns firing off clotheslines and uppercuts on Newman into the corner as Moxley wears down Ospreay onto the outside, and he bites Will Ospreay's ear, and Diego Garcia stands on Will Ospreay's spine to continue wearing him down, and he then choked Ospreay with the shirt that he was wearing. Then the Death Riders take turns firing off clotheslines and uppercuts on NR in the corner of the ring, but NR drags Daniel Garcia up on the ring steps, and Claudio comes to Daniel Garcia's aid and sends NR crashing through another table that has been set up onto the outside. Then back from the break, Jon Moxley fires strikes on Will Ospreay, and Daniel Garcia launches into Dragon Tiber on Will Ospreay, and Jon Moxley delivers a crimp stomp to Ospreay as Garcia still had the Dragon Tiber switch on him. Then Claudio delivers the swing to Will Ospreay, then looks to set Akura crashing through the table off the ring steps. Then NR comes to Francisco Adora ahead. I'll say again, guys. Hold on, guys. Hold on, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, guys. So yes, Claudio Castagnoli delivers the swing to Will Ospreay, then looks to set Akura crashing. I'll say it again, guys. This thing gets me on my nerves, but I'm still doing this review. So yes, Claudio delivers the swing to Will Ospreay, then looks to set Akura crashing through the table off the ring steps. Then NR comes to Akura's aid and spears Claudio Castagnoli off the ring steps, and Akura then sends Daniel Garcia crashing on top of another table. The Newman sends Pac crashing through another table off the top rope, and Akura then delivers and cannonball to Daniel Garcia off the ring apron inside the ring, and Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay brawl with one another. Then Moxley then lands a trio of paradigm shifts on Will Ospreay, but Newman levels Jon Moxley with a clothesline and helps up Will Ospreay, and Will Ospreay sends Jon Moxley crashing through the table and pins him as Newman hold onto Jon Moxley as well, and the United Empire won with Will Ospreay sending Jon Moxley through the table and pins him, and that's what happened. And Newman hold on to Moxley as well, and that's what happened right there, guys. Then after the match, Will Ospreay looks to continue beating down Jon Moxley, and Claudio Castagnoli comes to Jon Moxley's aid. I'll say it again. Comes to Jon Moxley's aid by pulling him out of the ring, and that's what happened right there. Then we hear from Kenny Omega. I'll say it again, guys. We hear from Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega says it's been about 25 years since he was last in Canada, then says he's hopped into a car for a 14-hour drive to wrestle in Canada and thanks the city from bottom of his heart. He then addresses MJF and says he has really thought that MJF's comments about his since last week also again last Wednesday, would really get under his skin, and he says that it's got really old and since giving that commentary brings it up every week, and Omega reveals that he's got upset with MJF's mocking him from being the god of professional wrestling and his other nickname because the fans were the ones to give them up on him, and takes those titles seriously, and he dares MJF to keep making comments about him because he can do everything better than MJF and recreate professional wrestling in his image unlike MJF. And he says that he thought, okay, I'll say it again, guys, and recreate professional wrestling in his image unlike MJF. And he says he thought it was all on him to write his legacy and say the place where the best should wrestle, to put the belt on someone who can wrestle the best in the place that they could wrestle. And he admits to being wrong about that and says he has shared his legacy with the fans, and he says his responsibilities are strong and promised to take the AEW World Championship from MJF to right the wrongs that he admits in AEW. And he says Dynasty will be MJF's last offense. And MJF music hits, and he makes his way out, and he says Omega was talking like he's better than him and about to beat him in 2026, but says well, Omega and the fans should talk to him. I'll say it again, guys. I'll repeat it again. MJF music hits, and he makes his way out and says Omega was talking like he's better than him and about to beat him in 2026, but says, well, Omega and the fans should talk him up. And Omega, then the fans are scared, and says Omega will never challenge him for the AEW World Championship because the clock on his career is ticking. Then says the doctors and Omega have said that he's all good to wrestle, and he asks Omega what his issue will be when he failed to win the AEW World Championship at Dynasty. Then says Omega will find out like those in the back that he's not on the level of the devil. And he says the fans will find out that their God will fall and the devil will race sitting on top of the throne. And he says he's better than Omega, and you know it. He said he's better than Omega, and he knows it. Then Omega says he learned more about MJF with every encounter between them. Then says Dynasty will be the last time they'll meet in the ring like man, and has since his hand to MJF and fights MJF to share his hand. And MJF looks to clock Omega, but Omega swerves, takes down. I'll say again, guys. MJF looks to clock Omega, but Omega swervely takes down MJF and tells him that he's predictable. Also again, Omega Swifty takes down MJF and tells him that he's predictable, and he takes MJF's diamond ring off and puts it on his own finger. Then says he's studied MJF and things wouldn't be how they have been till now, and he says he will bet the crowd since with a good boy and a good night, then stands tall over MJF as the show went off the air. And that's what happened right there, guys. And I gave this show a 9 out of 10. It was a great show. I gave this show a 9 out of 10. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Appreciate you subscribing to my channel. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for coming to the channel. This is a wrestling channel. So I appreciate you coming by and subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much. But anyways, that's all I have to say, guys. And yes, guys, I gave this Dynamite from April 8th a 9 out of 10. And this was the go-home show to Dynasty. So yes, guys, this was the go-home show to Dynasty. So that's all I have to say, guys. And I gave this Dynamite a 9 out of 10. So don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit those notification bells as always, guys. And this is CJD 2006. I'll say it again, this is CJD 2006. And peace out and take care and much love.